afternoon. My name is Anthony Faust, and I will be discussing President Joe Biden's newly announced policy called the Student Debt Relief Plan and why he should reverse this policy. On August 24th, 2022, President Biden announced plans to relieve American citizens from the large amounts of federal student loan debt that students have developed throughout their academic careers. The president believes that a post-high school education should be a ticket to a middle-class life. But for too many, the cost of borrowing for college is a lifelong burden that deprives them of that opportunity. Dating back to 1980, students have experienced the cost of both four-year public and four-year private colleges tripling in their tuition. Pell Grants once covered nearly 80% of the cost of a four-year public college degree for students from working families, but now only cover a third of these costs. Middle-class borrowers have been struggling with the high monthly payments, and it has limited their ability to build wealth, such as buying a home, saving money for retirement, and starting their own business. Nearly one-third of borrowers have debt but no degree, according to an analysis by the Department of Education. A majority of these students could not even complete their degree because of the cost of attendance being too high for them to attain. Additionally, the Biden administration feels that the burden of student loans falls disproportionately on black borrowers, with the administration referencing black borrowers who had started school in the 1995 to 1996 school year still owing 95% of their original student debt. Because of these reasons, President Biden has promised to cancel up to $20,000 in federal student debt per borrower for individuals who are making less than $125,000 per year, or for couples that are making less than $250,000 per year. This new policy has been met with both positive and negative feedback by the public. Some feel that this is a positive change and will have a major impact on their lives. Pell Grant recipient Alexandra Steinheimer has dreamt of a life free from student debt since she graduated college over a decade ago, and once the news came of the new student loan forgiveness, she stated, "It felt like a huge weight had been lifted off of my shoulders, and I could finally breathe a bit easier." Steinheimer has labeled this new policy as a game changer and plans to use the money she will save for her mortgage and for furnishing her condo. Tina Gass, another student loan borrower, wants to break the cycle of student debt for her kids and states that this new policy will reduce her monthly loan payments and give her an opportunity to start saving for her children's college education. Others view this policy as a positive step towards addressing the racial disparity amongst those who hold student debt. The New York Times reports that there is a present racial wealth gap and have cited reports showing that black and other non-white borrowers end up with higher average loan balances than their white peers. Negative feedback has also been expressed by the public once this policy was announced. There has been major concerns with the economic impact that this policy will have on the American taxpayers. Economic advisors have expressed concerns with this new policy increasing inflation within the United States. Others also feel that the student loan forgiveness will disproportionately benefit wealthier Americans. It is noted that more than 80% of Americans do not have student debt because they have either paid off their college debt or have never gone to college. Around 60% of student loan debt is held by households that earn more than $74,000 of income annually. Penn Wharton has estimated that around 70% of the $10,000 of debt cancellation would benefit borrowers in the top 60% of income earners because a disproportionate amount of debt is held by couples close to the income cap. Others have expressed that this policy is unjust because it transfers the debt of an individual who had freely agreed to repay the loan and place it on other Americans through higher taxes and inflation. It is my recommendation that President Biden reverse this policy before it cripples an already hurting United States economy. Currently, the Consumer Price Index has seen an increase of 8.2% since September of 2021, which has resulted in higher prices towards an American's everyday living expenses. Additionally, it is predicted by the Conference Board that there is a 96% likelihood of a recession for the United States within the next 12 months. The prestigious business school Penn Wharton has estimated that the student loan forgiveness policy will cost the American taxpayers $311 billion and will amount to adding more than $2,000 of extra taxes per taxpayer. The current environment of the United States economy cannot afford to add fuel to an economy that is already on the brink of a recession. I also recommend that the president reverse this policy because it doesn't address the real issue for these high student loan debts. As the administration has expressed within the White House's fact sheet, tuition for four-year colleges has increased rapidly over the years. Providing a small amount of relief does not prevent colleges from continuing to increase their tuition and further leading their students into a deeper hole of debt. That is why I recommend that the president look at other avenues for addressing the student loan debt that is plaguing our college students. Two recommendations for addressing the growing amounts of student loan debt are utilizing appropriation leverage against colleges or placing tuition caps on colleges. Some colleges have seen a decrease in the amount of state support for higher education, which has placed a burden on the institutions. This has led to institutions raising their tuition to help cover the costs that the states have cut. Utilizing appropriation leverage can have a positive impact on maintaining college tuition levels because it will provide more assistance and incentives to keeping their tuition levels lower. A negative impact to this strategy, however, is that it does not guarantee that a college institution will maintain their lower levels of tuition. My other recommendation would be to utilize a tool called a tuition cap. A tuition cap occurs when a state government sets limits on the amount that universities are allowed to raise their tuition from year to year. According to the Education Commission of the states, listed tuition prices are increasing 125% faster than inflation at community college and 213% faster than inflation at four-year public universities. Studies by Brown University have found that listed tuition is lower than it would have been in the absence of the tuition cap at 9.3 percentage points at four-year colleges during the regulation. One of the positive aspects with tuition caps is that it produces intended results that prevents colleges from uncontrollably raising their tuition prices. A negative part of tuition caps can be seen with institutional financial aid, where universities will decrease their institutional financial aid when facing tuition caps. The political impacts of this policy avenue should be viewed favorably by the public because it shows a recognition towards the root of the problem and also shows the American citizens that you are attempting to fix the problem without placing any additional burden on other American citizens economically. My recommended course of action for the president will be to work with the states to implement tuition caps. The results of tuition caps are undeniable. This policy route is better than appropriation leverage because it shows guaranteed results with capping the amount of tuition that an institution can raise their prices without economically impacting the rest of the American citizens. The root cause for the rising cost of student loans is due to the rising cost of tuition from universities, and if true change is desired, stopping colleges from uncontrollably raising their tuition at the expense of students must be addressed. Thank you.